Hello, everyone. How are you
Welcome.
all doing? Yes.
We
Welcome
are
back to
back.
another episode. Twanya, are you excited about the
I
conversation
am.
today?
I am. Totally am.
Man, I can't believe we made it to episode number 4. I know,
It
right?
was just a thought the other day.
It was just a thought the other day. The Lord was like, do this thing. We picked it up and we ran with it. And this conversation has really inspired a lot of people, answered a lot of questions. It has blessed the both of us in this journey. I like to say we are taking this journey together, this co-parenting journey. We are doing it God's way and God's way alone. And tonight we have, as promised, we have some special guests that have joined us on this wonderful day called Father's Day.
Father's
What a
Day.
woo woo woo! What is better than to share this day, share episode number 4 with these wonderful men. One of them you all remember from episode number 2, where we dug into Twanya's relationship and her co-parenting style and the man that she did it with. And so we want to welcome Mr. Randy Caranda to the platform. Hi, Randy.
Hey
Welcome.
everyone, how's it going? How's it going?
Good. How's your day going so far, sir?
It is good, relaxing. It's good,
Yeah.
what
Relaxing.
I needed.
That's what
Yeah.
we like to hear. We are busy people, I'm telling you. Um, and we would be amiss, okay, to have yet another episode with Randy and not have the other dynamic to my duo, which is Mr. Andre Gamble. Mr. Andre Gamble, welcome to the platform, sir.
Hey, how you doing?
Welcome.
Hey. So,
How y'all
How's
doing?
your day going?
Day's going good.
That's
Day's
good.
going good.
we
Yeah,
want
very
to shout
relaxing,
out
very quiet.
and say happy Father's Day to the both of you all.
Yes.
Thank you all so
Appreciate it.
much for giving up y'all hour to be here with us, to support us in this and to share your stories with the people. So I'm gonna pass it over to you, Randy. You know, you're not new to the podcast, but just let the people know who you are.
Well, as she just stated, I am Randy, or some of you all know me as Karanda, which is my real name. um, and yes, Twanya and I are co-parenting. We have a beautiful daughter, Camille, which a lot of you know and may not know. But I am definitely glad to be back. I had an awesome time on the last time I was here, and just excited to see what happens on this go round.
Are you glad to have some balance today?
Yes, yes, because boy, it get a little lonely out there sometimes.
You're glad to have your brother on the line.
Yes.
Right, right.
So
They
with
like to
that,
cut up.
I am my
Like,
brother's keeper.
There we go.
amen. Return of the Mac himself.
Yes,
hey,
That's what we're
indeed.
talking about.
Well, uh,
and so
Andre, you
Mr.
want?
Andre, if you go ahead and introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Andre. My last name is still Gamble. Um, I am the Mac returning for the first time. I, I'm just kidding. And I am a proud co-parent with Regina. We have a son, Andrew. We also have Zaria and Andrea that we co-parent with. But and I too am excited to see what we get out of this evening's conversation.
That's
I
awesome.
love it.
That
Thank
is
you all.
awesome. So on I'm gonna just recap for a little bit. On episode number 2, we kind of dug into, like, our background a little bit, and then how we got here. And I want to start off by saying this. Um I'm sorry for coughing on the screen. But I want to start off by saying this. One of the, we told kind of our journey, Twanya and I, episode number 1. If you want to know a little bit more history and background, just pop on over to our YouTube page or to either our Facebook page or what have you, to kind of look at that background. But one of the things that kind of birthed this, one of the catalysts that birthed this, I was having a conversation with Andre one day, and we were, per usual, doing the parent stuff, and we were handling something with our son. It probably was school because that keeps us very busy. And we joke, as you're gonna see on tonight, we joke a lot. And someone was hearing our conversation, and they commented, I love the way you all co-parent. You do it so very well. And then Andre said, we co-parent in excellence. And when he said it, it really ignited something, and gave revelation, just to how this thing can be done. Although, we are, the four of us on this line are, a result of something very tragic, which is divorce. And we've said it and we'll always say it. This is not about promoting any of that. But when you have been, the saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. And so we figured out how to make something sweet out of something that can be bitter, right? And so co-parenting and excellence is one of those things, that we have learned how to do along this journey called life. A lot of people are saying Happy Father's Day to you all, so I don't want to be amiss, without you all getting your congratulations in, you know, for all that you all do. And so also, here we go. Let me add him back to. All right, Randy,
All right.
welcome back.
All right.
um, but yeah, so we as mothers, we deal with so many things, and raising the kids and all of that. But we want to highlight the dynamic fathers. Moms always get praised, but we need to praise our fathers, because we cannot be if you all were not.
Yeah.
If you all were not, and so we got some questions this evening. But before we get into our questions, I want to pass it over to my co-host, my sister from the same mister.
Same mister. From the same mister. Regardless of the shenanigans.
Yes, yes, yes.
So, sorry, let me. Sorry about that. So, where? I'm sorry. You was passing it to me. You okay?
It was going
Me?
in and out. I couldn't hear.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Now,
perfect. Okay, so I guess we're gonna go into our first question. Given the stigma put on our Black men, in what ways has co-parenting been positive and beneficial to you? Starting
I'm
with,
sorry. Repeat
go
that
ahead.
one more time. It's
Given,
Yeah. Repeat that one
given,
more time for me.
given the stigma put on our Black men, in what ways has co-parenting been positive and beneficial to you?
we, we can give it to Andre.
Yeah.
Um, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
So it's been very positive. I wanted to kind of give a little context. So I grew up in a single parent household. My mom worked two jobs, to try to keep food on the table, clothes on my back, picture on the TV screen. I didn't have any brothers and sisters. So it was pretty much just me. So I didn't really have a an experience to see what it would be like to have, well, co-parenting, let alone, both parents in the house. So this experience has been a positive experience, and it gives me the opportunity to um experienced what I never had, which is having, being a dad, you know. And it also and Regina also has a plays a big part in that, and she allows me to be the dad. And like, I've been called a lot of things. I've been called son, I've been called coach, I've been called friend, I've been called cousin. um Romero still calls me Uncle Dre. I love that. um uh I've been called Big Daddy. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. I'm just that's a joke. That's a joke. And I've also I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've also been called a lot of other less family friendly things, but the most important name that I have is dad. So this whole co-parenting thing and being an opportunity to be a dad has been a very, very positive experience for me.
And yep. Uh-oh. Let me mute. Okay, he's good. I'm sorry. Can you, Regina, we can't hear you.
Expound upon
I
just a
think,
little bit, Andre,
uh,
because you had mentioned,
yeah.
Andrea,
Uh-huh.
and you had mentioned, Zaria. And so
Yep.
with, just the state of co-parenting, can you just talk about, how that has been for you? Because your dynamic, or our dynamic, I should say, is a look is much different than Twanya and Randy. Twanya and Randy, they got married. They had Camille. They have their one daughter. We
Yeah.
came into our relationship with children, and
Yeah.
then navigating that, right? Navigating how to be in the children's lives that had other parents. So even that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So like you say, when I came into the relationship, I came with my own baggage. I'm kidding. I had Andrea. Andrea was, I think, 10. Was she 10, 9, 10, 11, somewhere around
I
there?
think when we got married, she was 10. Yes, but I think
Okay.
when we were dating, she was like 8.
Hey, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, like you mentioned, you came in with Zaria. So it was to me it was pretty seamless because we kind of knew what it was that we wanted to do as far as for like, or what it looked like to be in each other's lives, and when you come into a situation and you have a kid out from another relationship, that kid comes with you, and you if you want to be in that situation, you accept the children as well. So it was pretty seamless. I didn't and Regina, you definitely welcomed Andrea with open arms and loved on her from day one when you met her. And I met Zaria when she was 9 months old, and fell in love with her from the time that we were first in each other's presence. So it was pretty seamless. It was a pretty seamless thing. If you ask me, I may be missing out on some things, but yeah, I think that it was pretty seamless, and it wasn't difficult, and one of the more difficult things to try to do is, you um try to, you don't want to go into a situation as a square peg,
Mm.
trying to fit
Mm.
into a round hole. So, and it wasn't that. It wasn't that. There was a lot of freedom. There was a lot of conversation, and more of what was necessary in order to be in the relationship that we were in.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And it sounds like it was I heard the communication part, which makes I feel like it takes a you have to have that open communication in order to even build the relationship of co-parenting.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then it's co-parenting, even not only it was co-parenting between us, but even the introduction of the other parents. Like one of the things I was thinking about when it came to Andrea, like you had said, she was older. So Andrea
Mm-hmm.
was involved with school activities and all types of things, right? And Andrea was a heavy basketball player. Y'all heard
Mm-hmm.
Andre talk about, he was called coach. And
Correct.
one of the things that was really important at the very beginning was the introduction to with Andrea's mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
And not necessarily building a relationship. I went, it wasn't about trying to be buddy buddy, but it was more so kind of what we were talking about on the last episode where
Yes.
we had our mothers on. And our mothers had to learn how to co-parent. I saw it as an example. And so when God afforded me, to be a bonus mom to Andrea, one of the things that was just important from the onset was getting to know her mom and allowing her mom to get to know me, because
Mm-hmm.
distrust, I think, is the first response
Hmm.
when you are interacting with another parent that's going to be involved in your child's life. I
Yes.
think distrust is the first response. Not that people want to be distrustful, but you don't know the person, right? You don't know anything about them. And now you have to figure out how to resolve in your heart um leaving your child with this other person.
Right.
you know
Right.
Allowing your child to be in the care and the influence of someone else that you don't know, and you're forced to do it. You don't have any choice, right? So I was with Andrea is Andre's daughter, so her mom was forced to accept me. But I thought that the best way to kind of get through that was let her get to know me,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
and just see me and see how I interact not only with Andrea, but how I interacted with my own children that I gave
Yeah.
birth to.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think that over the years, it became something that was easy, because we relinquished all kind of inhibitions about anything and just decided to be there for Andrea. You
Right.
know, um,
Right.
Andre, Randy, you got anything to add to that? Anything you thought of?
Not right this moment, because I'm gonna be totally honest. I was catching bits and pieces, but I think I'm good now. So,
All right.
uh, but yeah, I'm good for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Twanya.
No, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, it takes um me being a product of co-parenting. I understood that my bio mom and my bonus mom, they weren't necessarily best friends, but they respected each other enough because of the with me being the common denominator of the two relationships.
Yeah.
So I feel like that played a big part with that conversation of that they had prior to when they first with daddy and my bonus mom Rita started dating, that I was also a part of him, and my mom understood that. And again, my mom also mentioned that because she didn't grow up with her dad, well, she lost her dad at 5 years old. It was important that her children had a relationship with their dad as well, since they were here, because she didn't have that opportunity. So she always felt that was a great um she never hindered the relationship.
So I'm looking at the comments and stuff, and I know we're not in the Q&A section right now, but Andre, I just was thinking, and Randy, whatever you have to add to this question, given the state of co-parenting, and just your experience in co-parenting, like, was there any difference? Because Andre, you have had experiences with different people, and so what are some of the things that you learned um, because Andrea is now what, 25? You know,
25 years old. Yeah. Hmm.
25
Wow.
years old, Zari is 16, and Andrew is 13. And so what are some of the things that like you picked up along the way, as a father in co-parenting? Like lessons,
Um,
whatever.
say again. I'm sorry.
I said like lessons or trial and error or whatever.
Um, it, can you ask the question again? I'm sorry.
I'm saying like when you look at across, your experiences, right? With the
Uh
mother
huh.
and your children.
Hmm.
So what are some of the things that you've learned?
As far as doing
Just
the whole the co-parenting experience,
yes.
it's a case by case situation. Like, um, you two aren't going to be this like aren't the same person, obviously, and of course, there was a reason that I was no longer in a relationship with Andrea's mom. So um it was just learning who, well, I don't know. I want to make sure I say the right thing. Um the when I had Andrea, I was a lot younger,
Okay.
right? Well, not a lot younger. So it
I
was a
mean, because
matter
you like
of
old now, so maybe it was. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
so, so, so when I was younger when I had Andrea, and I didn't have any intention when I was with Andrea's mom. I don't know if I should say this, but it's the truth of actually being with her once I got to learn, you know, more and more about her, if that makes sense. Um, I don't know. She just wasn't for me, if I can just bluntly state it. So you move on, and then you go into the next situation with every intention of it being a better situation, and it was different. It was a more positive situation, and I gained more. I learned a lot in the situation with Regina, in a relationship with, I shouldn't say situation, in a relationship with Regina, to the point that I wanted to, actually build a life. But just knowing what, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how else to answer that question. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine because it made me think about something else when you were talking about like being young and getting older and the situations being different. Do you think that, and I'll pose this to you, Randy, do
Mhm.
you think that that's one of the reasons why there's such a stink and a stigma on Black men when it comes to this co-parenting thing and, being and I hate this term, the non-custodial parent. I hate that term
Yeah.
with everything I have. I cannot stand that terminology. Um, but yeah, like because everybody, why doesn't mm, why don't we give the same amount of grace to our Black men that we give to our Black women when it comes to maturing in parenting? I'll pose that
Mm.
question.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have the answer to the very last question you asked, if there's an answer to it. Um, but maturity definitely has a lot to do with it. You know, where you are in your level of maturity.
Mhm.
Um, because, like, if you're at a younger age and you haven't experienced a lot, or you haven't been taught or learned a lot, you're going to handle situations differently, and they might not be the best way to handle them. So So maturity has a lot to do with it on both parts. Um, Now, kind of going back to the original question that Andre was answering, um, it is a
I
case
tried
by
my best.
case or a situational thing based. Right, right. Um, it is a situational thing or a case by case thing basically, and what I've learned from that is like, okay, there's certain situations that may be going on with Camille that Twanya and I are dealing with, and Twanya may handle it in a way that I may not have handled it, but I'm not going to interject and be like, "You're wrong the way you handle it," and this is how it should be done because this is the way I feel it should be handled, or this is the way I feel it should be handled. Um, and that's simply because maybe the way I was raised, those certain things didn't happen or wasn't allowed. And it doesn't make, the situation any worse. It's just a different way of attacking a situation. So what I had to learn at times is to sit back sometimes and, let Twanya's method go as far as what we're dealing with, just to see, not necessarily just to see if it'll work, but because I don't know, it may be the best way. Just because I wasn't brought up that way, so I wouldn't even thought to try that approach. So you got to learn to balance or juggle when you step in and try to take over something, or when you need to both just communicate with each other on how you want to handle the situation. Or like I say, with me certain times I'll sit back and be like, you know what, that probably was the best way to handle it, because the way I would have taken it, it probably would have went south. So that's just
All the
one
way
example
south.
how you learn.
Yeah, and that's, and
Right.
as he was
So
saying, the some things that I don't feel like it's necessary that I have to tell him every little thing that happens. But when I feel like I have addressed a certain issue multiple times and I don't see a resolve from it, then that's when I go and communicate to this, and then we either try to work it, figure out what to do, or he'll take it upon himself and do what he feels is necessary to do, and then that's how we work. But again, baseline is communication.
Hmm. It's communication, and like there's grace, right? That's
Yeah.
given to one another. I'm a pass the ball over to Andre by saying this. One of the things that he and we used to um, debate about when we were in the same household. I was raised in the South. Andre was raised in what he likes to say the big city. I was raised in the country. He was raised in the big city. Um, but one of the things I used to say all the time is that the Lord saw fit to give these children him and me. And so whatever's in him is necessary for them, and whatever's in me is necessary for them. And I think that that is, I believe that that's a true statement, no matter if you were married, never married, a one night stand, it don't matter. However the child got here, the child is here, right?
Yeah.
And so the Lord is the giver of, God is the giver of life. And I believe that if life is given and life is produced, then those two individuals, that was the seed. I'm not going to get into a whole lot because I hear a whole lot, but those individuals that came together and that child was produced, I think that whatever you have in you is necessary for them in whatever capacity and level that it can be given in, right? In the confounds of safety. But yeah, I think that that's what grace, because we're two individual people and we think differently. Oh, I like what Thomas just said. I'll put this up on the thing: graceful communication. And so with that, I'll pass it over to Andre. Like, what does, when you hear this, what do you think?
Um, I agree with what's been said so far, as far as there has to be a certain level of maturity first and foremost, and it all starts with communicating, and I think with this dynamic that we have, I think it's important. It's been such a blessing to be able to, go through this co-parenting experience with Regina. It hasn't been difficult at all, because you never know what to expect when you go into it. I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but it's the truth. And there's definitely that you have to know how to be cordial. You have to know how to be respectful. And you definitely have to communicate. And communication is cliche here, is key, but without that, what do you have? What do you have? There's not very many things that we do or that the kids have going on that we aren't aware of.
Yeah.
So everything boils down to communication and the way that we communicate. And we make, not only do we communicate, we make decisions together. We compromise, we put our heads together and try to figure out what the best way forward is for the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. What the best looks like.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's like the comment I just put on the screen, from Tracy Wade, and she says our children will produce what we impart into them. And so I think Andre touched on that. Like, no matter what we are doing, if we are, the children see it
Yeah.
and
Just
they're
like
Hmm.
when
going to
they
learn to
when they're
mimic it.
babies. When
Yeah,
they're babies, they gravitate to anything, everything that they see their parents, or not even parents, whatever they see around them.
yeah,
That's why they when they're younger, when they're babies, it's always like start now, because they hold on to so much at such a young age. It's best to feed that positive things into them. Then if you feed it into these negative things, showing them negativity within the co-parenting, of course they're going to have that negative energy as well.
yeah. One of the things I say all the time is that we're not raising children, we're raising adults. And I want to raise adults that I want to be around. Right?
Hmm.
I don't want to raise adults that you know what I mean? We know we all work, we all are in different, yeah, you come across some people that you just like, man, I don't
We
know
probably
who
wasn't
raised
raised
you.
right.
You're like,
Who raised
man,
you? Yeah.
yeah, I don't want to be around these people,
Right.
and a lot of people say, man, I'm raising kids, but it's like you're not raising kids, you're raising adults. And whatever you plant, in the soil call your family, that's what the ground of your family is going to produce. And it doesn't matter the makeup of your family, it's still a ground that's supposed to produce something. And I
Yeah.
know one of the things Andre and I talked about when we, were strategically separating, um, is that, our responsibility is to continue to raise these kids in love.
Yeah.
That's our responsibility because they are still our, um they're still what God gave us to do, our purpose as parents,
Hmm.
and one of the things that the Lord said to me personally was that I was supposed to lead with love. No matter how I felt, no matter what I wanted to say, there was a lot of times I would look at Andre like this, and then I would pierce my lips together like this and squeeze my eyes. Like Randy was saying, we grew up differently. I might not have agreed, right? But
Right.
I had
Right.
to relinquish that, and I had to keep my mouth shut because I understand that life and death lies in the power of my tongue. And if I wanted to produce life, I had to watch my tongue.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've learned. And we were speaking about maturity. That's something I had to mature in. You know what I mean? In order for this thing to be successful. I think that we as parents sometimes, and we're gonna segue into like the next kind of question, but I think that we as parents forget that we produce our own environment.
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a lot of parents that, and I got friends. I have, people in the community, my community, my, surroundings or whatever things, activities. And you hear them like bashing the other parents, and I can't stand them, and da 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 da, and they don't, da, da, and I mean, it's just, and I sometimes when I listen, I go, I don't even think they understand that they just produce what they mouth spoke.
Yeah. Spoke it into the atmosphere.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There are parents who are never
Yeah.
right. There are parents who never mature. And I think that in order to do this thing, it has to come from a mature place. So, like, given that, what do you all think is? I mean, I think Andre is having technical difficulties, which is fine. But Randy and Twanya, what do y'all think about like just the state of co-parenting? Like, and I'm just not gonna say in America, but just in whether it be our community or your community of people, your sphere of influence. Like, what do you think the state of co-parenting is?
I feel like it
I'll
could
let
be
you go first.
it could be in some instances can be better if they go put self aside. Because a lot of time is self in a way of what they don't necessarily have to be what it is. So if they could put self aside and think about what matters most, are the children, then they will have a better way of parenting.
Right, because it's not about what's going to make me and her feel better. It's about what's going to be best for Camille. So, I mean, you got to put yourself. Sometimes you might have to put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, or go along with an uncomfortable situation for the better of the child. Yeah, you might not necessarily agree, or that's not might not be the way you wanted to handle it. But if that's what's best for the child in the long run, you just got to swallow it and move along. I mean, because it's no longer about us anymore. I mean, we had our chance. I mean, I hate to say it like that, but we did what we were supposed to do. It's about the child now. I mean, it's not about me being right to her, she being right to me, or whatever. It's about Camille. So if I got to bite my tongue, swallow my pride, or whatever the case may be, for the betterment of Camille, then that's what needs to be done, which all boils back down to the maturity level. I mean, it's just maturity is really the key for this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so we were just saying, Andre, like, given this conversation about, kind of where we got to in co-parenting, like what do you think the state of co-parenting is right now, whether it be the Black community, whether it be your circle, what do you think the state of co-parenting is? Is it positive? Is it negative?
Um, I think it entails a little bit of both, and I just don't think that it has to be. I think that, and I know that this word keeps coming up. If people were mature enough to do what it is that they needed to do, I mean, you choose who you lay down with, and you choose who you make a kid with. So you might as well make a choice to do the right thing by this kid, especially if that situation doesn't
That's
work.
good.
I think that if we had more like people, I think that people should be more selfless when it
Mhm.
comes to the kids, because the kids, if the situation doesn't work, or even if it is, the kids are what's important, because like you said, you don't want to just um, you don't want to put your kid in an environment that's not conducive to success. You
Ooh,
don't want to put your kid in an environment that's negative all the time,
Yeah.
that's
right?
good.
So and I think, like, I know we've thrown this word out here, but it's important. Like, it's just based off the level of maturity that each individual has when it comes to raising kids.
That is good. You don't want to put your kids in an environment that they cannot be successful in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is great. Hand
Yeah.
clap to that point. We always have some key nuggets in every episode. And we're just going to star that nugget right there. That you never want to, you always want to create an atmosphere for your children to be successful.
Yeah,
No
absolutely.
matter, no matter what the dynamics are, or the players, right, in the environment, you want to do your part to make the environment a good environment. Like
Yeah.
I that's amazing right there. And I think if a lot of people thought I guess led with that, and constantly ask themselves that question, is what I'm getting ready to do, or what I'm getting ready to say, is that creating or aiding an environment, creating an environment where my child can grow up in. I think about seeds, and I think about farming all the time, and the soil has to be the right soil
Yeah.
for that seed to grow.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
you think about gardening and planting. I know we grew up, because we grew up in the country and not the big city, Twanya and Randy,
Big city.
Right.
and
Right.
not the big city with the return of the Mac. You know, we ain't grow up
Right.
with
Hey,
famous superstars and go go and stuff like that.
Right.
But
Right.
I think about our grandfather had a garden in the backyard.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to hear them say things like, you can't plant this next to that, or you can't plant this next to that, or it's proper to plant this with that. Pair this vegetable with that vegetable. And now that I'm older and know just a tiny bit more about planting, they basically were saying you got to create the right environment for things to grow properly.
Yes.
And I want to ask this question because I just heard this question. So, what do you think about people that say, because we all are a product of, we're a product of divorce. There are people on the line that have either, been a child in divorce, or have gone through divorce themselves. What do you think about people that say things like, well, your child is going to have problems because you all got divorced? Randy, what do you think?
I think I well, I ain't gonna say what I wanted to say. Um,
Say it,
that's
say
wrong.
it.
I'm about to say I call BS on that. I was gonna say I call BS on that because just because what Twanya and I went through should not have any bearing on our child. So that's
Mm,
like just because we got a divorce, that doesn't mean that my child should have to suffer at all. And that's where our responsibility comes in to make sure that our divorce does not negatively affect our child at all. Um, so yeah, I call BS on that because it's about what you make it. Yeah, you could if you allow it to. Yeah, it definitely could be a problem. I mean, they will have problems if Twain and I got divorced. We stayed bitter at each other, didn't want to communicate properly. Then yeah, but yeah, it's just because you got divorced. That should have no bearing on how that child is brought up and how that child is loved. That's my opinion.
that's
Yeah.
good, Andre.
same. Yeah, I don't think that is a statement that should be made to a kid first and foremost, or any child, or even if it's I don't know, it's just an unnecessary thing to say. I know that when Regina, when you and I went through what we went through, we actually sat our kids down and let them know what we were going through, but we always, always, always let them know that we still loved each other, even now. Even now. So I kind of I tend to agree with Randy about that statement, and it doesn't have to, or shouldn't be. It doesn't necessarily have to be true. People go through things all the time, and just it doesn't have to be true. I don't agree with that at all.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
I hear you both saying is that, we have the power to create our own narrative.
Yeah, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
100%. 100%. You know,
And then with
100%.
me personally, before my dad met my mom, he had gone through a divorce. And now, granted, there's two different parents, but with my other siblings that he had with his previous marriage, they never suffered because of divorce or whatever. They never had to suffer or anything. They never felt any less love or compassion or anything just because they got divorced or whatever. So that's one reason I definitely say that's not true, because I've seen it happen to where
Yeah.
it wasn't affected. So, and then with me seeing that, it kind of taught me, whether I knew I was learning the lesson at the time or not, but it did teach me that, yeah, a divorce doesn't mean that the kids have to suffer at all or go without or lack of anything just because you guys couldn't make it. And it's like what Rod just said, we are not our parents' problems. So it's like, or I might not have quoted that properly, but he was like, "What happens with us doesn't need to trickle down to the kids, basically." So
So
yeah,
I
that's
I was having this conversation early. I'm sorry. I things just drop in my spirit all the time, but it's exactly what you both have said, and it's what Rod said. And Rod, we shout out, Rod is our brother, Twine and I's brother. Hey brother.
Happy Father's Day
um
to you, brother.
Happy Father's Day to you, Rod. We love you. um
Maybe.
but yeah, we are not our parents problem, but the thing that I just thought of was, what we're talking about right now is, people say all the time, you be the difference, you break the curse, you know what I'm saying, you do something differently, like, even something that I don't even know if a lot of people think about it this way, but you responding differently and you creating a different narrative is really breaking the back of the enemy that wants to infiltrate, the life of the child to not be successful.
Mm.
There are so many doors that can open in children's lives, and we're all believers on this line, but there
Mm.
are so many doors that can open in a child's life from like stuff they watch on TV or something they might experience at school. And one of the things that I said all the time is I don't want to be my kids' issue that they got to go to therapy about.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
know, it's gonna be enough that in
Yeah,
life there's things that they're gonna have to deal with, things that they're gonna go through, relationships of their own, all the things, but I don't want to be one of them. So
right.
Mm.
one of the things, and Randy kind of touched on this, he was like, I was learning, I didn't know I was learning it, but I learned it, right? And
right.
there's a lot of things in life that we learn as we grow up, and we get to decide how we're gonna use them.
Definitely.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And as he was mentioning about his parents, um, well, his siblings, his older siblings, mother, his dad, they divorced. Not knowing then, it prepared him for now. Not saying that we got in marriage expecting to get divorced, but God always orchestrate things so that we will be prepared for what's to come. We didn't see it then, but we know now something to come to fruition why we had to see those things or went through those things for things that happen in the future.
that's good, Tanya. Um, I was thinking about this scripture earlier, Matthew 8:28, that all things work together for the good of them.
Yes,
And
sir.
we know there's more to the scripture, but that's what I was just thinking about. And Twanya, it's exactly what you said. Even Andre, and his dynamic growing up, he said it earlier in his introduction, is that he grew up with a single mom who worked and to keep the lights on, do all the things. And he was saying how he was called all these different names, cousin and coach and this, but dad. And
Mm.
he learned um out of what he this is so good, out of what he did not have, informed him what he had to become.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that was, now I felt the Lord. My heart is pounding right now. But yes, And I would say, in this moment, and this is normal. Andre and I have moments all the time, but I tell him all the time, hats off to him, and I'm so proud of him because I know his background, right? I've seen family intimately with him, and I just say hats off to him because what he did not have, and a lot of people use it as an excuse, like, well, I never had a daddy. Well, I didn't have an example. It's like, yeah, but that can inform you to become what you didn't have.
Mhm.
It still can in a good light. And I see him um doing the very thing that most in that have his same story sometimes say that they cannot. And I absolutely commend him on just the dad that he is, the stepfather he is, you know, um the things that he even with the kids that he coached in basketball, being there for them and being that positive role model, and rewriting the narrative of his own story. So
Yeah.
not to be sappy, but hats
Yeah.
off to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you so
See,
much for
We
saying that. I
appreciate you.
appreciate
you just got a Father's
it.
Day gift. It was much better than them socks.
Yeah,
Right.
it was awesome. It was exactly what I needed. Thank you so much. I can go buy my own socks now. I appreciate it. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. I appreciate
Real
it. I appreciate
MVP.
it.
But you can be example just because you want more for your kids. Yeah. 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 A lot of times you learn from what you don't have.
Yeah,
Because you it's a show what not to do. He didn't grow up with his father in his house, but he knew what not to do with his children. What was
yeah,
needed, what he desired when he was growing up, he can now pour into his children. So that I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
I
and
love it too.
it was something that I always wanted. I used to ask my mom, "Well, where's my dad?" And she would never really give me a real response that was worth anything. But it was something that, when I did have children, it was something that was important to me to be a present dad. Like I didn't want to be, you know, I didn't want my kids to feel the same way I felt when I was coming up without a dad. So it's
And
important. It's important.
and like Miranda said last time, when he was on episode 2, he didn't want to just be a child support dad. He wanted to
Mm.
actually
Or
be
or
a vessel.
or a weekend dad.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
I just was about to say that, Andre. I was about to say, now, Andre, one thing he was adamant about, he was like, I'm not gonna be a weekend dad. Oh, okay. I said,
Nah.
better yet, I got one for you. You can take it.
Yeah, and that kind of goes back to your question that you asked me earlier, Regina, about how the situations with the two moms was different. I was forced into that. Whereas if I wanted to see my kid, it had to be on the weekends. And situations as well. I work two jobs myself, but it's still, it was a situation that was pretty much forced. And then, and co-parenting with you is totally different. Totally different. So
But you know what? Even in that, like I feel that we may experience, and this is general, so I don't know. It's related to what we're talking about, but I do feel strongly that it could be for the audience what I'm getting ready to say. But sometimes our negative experiences inform God on how He wants to bless us in our next.
mm,
It might not
Yeah.
be right, like we didn't go into this thing thinking like, oh, it was going to end up in the way that it.
mm,
But even in what you just said, Andre, like you were experiencing being a co-parent with your first child, and all of the
mm,
things you had to deal with. You could have had sad nights, sad days where you probably want to come home and just kiss your kid. Could have been something as simple,
mm,
but the Lord. heard your heart. You know what I mean?
Mm.
He said, I'm gonna give it to you again,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna bless you in it this time.
Yeah.
And we might go into it apprehensive, with some apprehension. Um, but God is like, but I got you this time because I heard you the first time.
Yeah.
And I just I'm thinking about that in the context of what we're talking about, but more broadly, that whoever, oh man, I think about the parable, right, of I gotta take my hair down because it's acting up. um I think about the parable, not the parable, but I think about when Jesus met the first two disciples, the brothers Andrew and Peter, and they were fishing all night, and it was hard for them. And then he was like, "Can I borrow your boat to minister?" Right? And then after he did what Jesus he performed, he ministered, and then he asked them a question about fishing, and they said, "But we've been doing it all night and we haven't been successful. So why would we do it again?" And the Lord was just like, "Put down your net. Try it again." And when they relinquish all of the stuff that they knew to be factual because they experienced it, right? They
Hmm.
were fishing all
Yeah.
night and they got nothing, right? So it was facts. It's stuff that they had been through. But when they relinquished it and just said, "Okay, I release myself in you, Lord, to do it again," what happened? They gained more than they even could handle.
Hmm.
And I think about, I even think about, my situation with Zaria. Like the first time was crazy.
Hmm.
Andre met me, like he was like, "Do she even have a dad? Like what? Where is this girl daddy?" And then that's probably a whole nother episode. We could talk about how that co-parenting situation um is. But like I was doing it on my own, and even going into, this situation, I was like, "Man, God, I ain't want to be a single mama of two. Like I ain't like what?" But the Lord was like, "I got you." And I feel
Hmm.
like all the toil that I experienced, when Zaria with Zaria before, coming into a relationship with Andre, I feel like God has blessed me with double.
Hmm.
Not even me, but I think that there was so much overflow. And in that story, it was so many fish that they had to call for help. They had to call for help to come to come help them with all the abundance. And even in me saying yes to do it again, what I feel like has been an overflow is that Zaria not only gets Andre, who she calls daddy, but she also gets her biological, who she really kind of treats like her bonus dad, which is that's a whole nother episode, because to her Andre is daddy. She don't really care about nobody else, right? um but that overflow of the love, and the overflow of her having, like, so many examples of fatherhood, just because.
Yes.
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 That also speaks to how Andre parents her, how he loves her. Like she don't feel the
Hmm.
lack of from him. He's
Hmm.
supportive. He's there. He's like he said. He's a present dad, regardless of blood can make him any closer to her because that's his daughter.
Hmm.
Yeah. 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 And so there's so many fish. We all are benefiting from the yes.
Yes, yes. Oh, she did she free? I think she lost her. But yeah, that was that was good. It's kind of thick because oh, this is good. Oh, there
I
she
know.
working.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what just happened. Um, we probably gonna have to come back and do a part two. Because I see that we have reached our hour, and we didn't even get to some of the comments and questions because there was some real good ones in here. Just about the state of co-parenting, and some other things. But I want to say once again, Randy and Andre, like, thank you all for even giving of your time on what is to be your special day. I just think that Tracy said part three. But I just want to say thank you to, you two men, for giving your time. And I just, God gave us the instruction on doing it on the third Sunday. Had no idea that it was going to fall on Father's Day. But for you all, for us to celebrate you, but you all to support us, in the thing that the Lord has, commissioned us to do. I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank y'all for y'all love. Thank you all for the way that you all support, these kids, and support us in raising these children and doing it together collectively. And as we close, I'm gonna put a statement out there, and I want you all to give the people, whatever your lasting words, around this. Humility is part of parenting, Randy.
So yes, humility is a part of parenting, meaning, and what I take from that is it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. You got to take self out of the equation and focus on the goal, basically, which is the children. And you can't do that without humility, is how I feel. So it's an amount or a dosage that everyone needs in order to be a positive influence. And yeah, that's I'm gonna leave it at that. I mean, I don't want to get too deep into it, but I'm gonna leave it like that. Yeah, it's definitely needed, and yeah, I'm gonna leave it like that.
Andre.
We gonna say Randy's deepness for part three.
Right.
Andre.
Um, I agree with that statement. I think that in co-parenting, you have to be intentional about it. I think that um, each individual has their role, and each individual to has to be able to thrive in their role, and you support one another, and you communicate with one another, and you follow whatever your focus is, raising these kids, and you raise the kids to meet the assignment, which is training up these kids the way that they should go, and when they are old, they won't depart from it.
Well, drop
Absolutely.
the mic, Randy and Andre.
I'm laughing at Roger right now, not Joy.
Right. He said get the scuba gear for Randy
Right.
to go deep. Look, we all gonna be around here snorkeling, okay?
Right.
Because look, by the time we get to part three, Randy and Andre gonna be preaching. We just gonna give
Right.
them the mic and let them teach and let them go forth. Because they gonna
Yeah,
get us.
we'd be remiss if we didn't give thanks to you all, because with we couldn't do it without you.
Definitely.
It's we do this together. We do this together, and we appreciate you. Um, I can say we, right, Randy? Sure. We appreciate you
Yeah, yeah,
bringing
definitely. Because
on.
I'd be lost if it wasn't for Twan.
But you allow for us to play our roles as far as being dads in these kids' lives, and we appreciate you all as well.
We
It's an
try.
honor.
Definitely,
We
definitely, one hundred
it's an
percent agree.
honor. I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else than who I've been doing it with. I am appreciative of him. If I call with any situation, whether it's got to do with the kids or I just need to vent about something, I can lean and depend on him to either to listen if I just need him to listen or offer advice if I need advice. So I appreciate you for just being who you are, um and every day. This on this live is just not for show. This guy
Mm.
shows up daily for his child, and I am just the uh ecstatic to be on this journey with them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
despite the how we got here. But I am appreciative.
Listen,
Amen.
the Lord knew
Yeah.
best. Okay? He knew best. On what to give not only to us but what to give more profoundly to these children. So once again, we want to say thank you to our audience for tuning in. We thank you all for the comments. We thank you all. We have read all of them. Some of them have sparked questions. Thank you for participating in the conversation. We will be back next month with some more dynamic guests. We're going to figure out how we're going to do this part 3, whether it be in the month of July, whether it be in the month of August. You never know, so stay tuned. If you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go over to our YouTube channel, the Makeup Room Podcast. You can find us there for all of the content. Also, if you want to join our community on Instagram, it has been scrolling all night at the bottom of the screen. So please link with us on Instagram, the Makeup Room _podcast. We're getting ready to launch some really big things in the near future, and you don't want to miss out on what is to come. Like we said in episode 1, we believe that God is really taking this message and he is catapulting it in the way that he wants to catapult it. We thought that we were going to have one conversation, and it has turned into multiple episodes. So
Yeah, for
listen, when it's a God thing, it's a good thing. We want to say thank you once again and good night to you all. Stay connected and stay tuned.
Dana, can I shout
good
out
night.
my social
Yeah,
media?
I saw. I forgot.
Go
Yeah,
right ahead.
shout out
Forget
your social media and your cash app. Hey, it is Father's Day. Y'all might want to tell people your cash app. They
cash
might
out.
want to bless you on tonight.
Go ahead. Thank y'all. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you
Y'all have
all.
a good night.
All
All
right.
right.